You might be wondering how math has anything to do with real life. You might be wondering how algebra has anything to do with real life. You might be wondering how quadratic equations have anything to do with real life. But I can tell you right now, they have a ton of things in common.
When will I see you again? You left with no goodbye, not a single word was said. No final kiss to seal any sins. I had no idea of the state we were in. I know I have a fickle heart and a bitterness and a wandering eye and a heaviness in my head. But don't you remember? Don't you remember the reason you left me before? Baby, please remember me.
A is the value of the first coefficient in an equation in standard form. A is what determines if the parabola's vertex is the maximum or the minimum. In other words, A is what decides which direction the parabola opens up in. If A is positive, the parabola will open up upwards like a smile. If A is negative, the parabola will open up downwards like a frown. A also discerns the width of the parabola, how narrow or how wide the parabola is. If A's absolute value is bigger, the width of the graph will be narrower. If A's absolute value is smaller, the width of the quadratic graph will be wider.
And a bitterness and a wandering eye and a heaviness in my head.
A shows if the man is going up and down or down and up. In this context, A must be negative as the man goes up and down making a frown. The parabola opens up downwards. A also represents how wide the man's going up and down in. This also shows how tall the man's upper body is, as that is what is making the parabola. If he was taller, the parabola's width would be wider, while if he was shorter, the parabola's width would be narrower. B is the value of the second coefficient in an equation in standard form. B is what affects the vertex of the parabola. It affects the vertex as the formula for the vertex in the quadratic equation is negative b over 2a. Additionally, if the sign of the b value is equal to the sign of the a value, like positive and positive or negative and negative, the axis of symmetry or mirror line will be on the left side of the graph. If the signs of the a and b value is different, like positive and negative, the axes of symmetry will be on the right side. B affects the maximum or minimum point of the motion. It also shows which direction the man is going in. In this case, he is going from left to right. C is the last term of the equation in standard form. C is the y-intercepted equation in standard form. The y-intercept is the value when x is equal to 0. In other words, it is the point where the quadratic graph meets the y-axis. You can tell that the y-intercepted equation is C if you substitute in 0 for the x values. C shows the starting point of the yoga motion the man made as the x-coordinate is equal to 0. This means 0 seconds have gone by. If 0 seconds have gone by, no action has been made, therefore it is the starting point. In this case, he started from 0.7 meters off the ground. Math is obviously connected to real life. Algebra is obviously connected to real life. Quadratics is obviously connected to real life.